Well, hello everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. My name is Yeshua. I'm the Outreach and Social Media Coordinator for the Canadian Cancer Survivor Network. And on behalf of CCSN, I'd just like to thank you for attending today's webinar, Remarkable Cancer Survivors Guide, How to Create and Break Habits to Maximize Your Health and Happiness with Dr. Rob Rutledge. If you're new to one of our webinars, let me just take a moment to give you a brief overview of our organization. The Canadian Cancer Survivor Network, or CCSN, is an organization working with cancer patients and survivors to learn about the complexities of our health system, connect with others to plan action, and act on those plans to promote better care and healthier survivorship. So if you'd like to learn more about CCSN, please visit our website at survivornet.ca. You'll find plenty of information there on us, as well as news, events, and other resources that we think you'll find helpful. Two quick announcements before I hand things off to our presenter. This webinar is being recorded, and it will be available tomorrow on YouTube. The video link will be sent to the email you provided when you registered, so you can share this resource or go back and watch it again if you'd like. At the end of the presentation, we'll have a short Q&A for those who are in attendance. We'll be ending our recording beforehand to maintain everyone's privacy. However, don't feel the need to wait until the end. Feel free to type your questions into the window at the bottom right of your screen so we can have them queued up for you. And with that said, it's now my pleasure to hand things over to Dr. Rob Rutledge, who is a radiation oncologist in Halifax, Nova Scotia, specializing in breast, prostate, and pediatric cancers. He's also an associate professor in the Faculty of Medicine at Dalhousie University. Rob is the CEO and chair of the Healing in Cancer Foundation, a registered charity that freely offers educational videos, documentaries, and webcasting seminars. He's the co-author of the book, The Healing Circle, which captures the teachings and inspirational stories from weekend retreats. So it's now my pleasure to pass things over to him.
Thanks, Joshua. It's always a pleasure to work with CCSN, and I'm really excited. I'm hoping that this is going to be like both a fun talk, but a profoundly powerful talk in terms of how you can actually change not just your physical body and the associated healthy activities that go along with the physical, but there's actually a psychological realm, identity realm, mind-body realm that goes along with habits. And so I'm super excited to offer you the science of how to actually make those changes. And it's some of it's surprising stuff. So I've really enjoyed researching this topic, and I'm hoping that this will really help all you get through this. So I like to look at big picture, like within a cancer diagnosis, because many of you are going to live for decades. And even if you don't, you're going to can really improve your health in the short and long term. Setting of intention. We're going to look at some specific habits. So I'll give you a little bit of teaching around some of the ways that you can actually promote your health in a very concrete way. We'll talk about letting go of some of the difficult stuff. And ultimately, it's this idea that as we change our behavior, we change our perception of ourselves, perception of the world. And you can actually use this really in the moment, reframing whatever's happening in your life. So, and as you said, we'll have a kind of Q&A through chat, and then we'll stop the recording and have an open conversation. So I'm always super excited to present. This is my passion in this world. And I so thank each and every one of you for watching this right now. Really love this stuff. Take home messages. The fact is, you really can profoundly influence your health. There's no guarantee, obviously, but what you do, how you perceive, tapping into your intuitive wisdom can profoundly influence your health. I like to focus my energy on the things that I can control, right? So how am I in this moment? How am I going to extend my spirit into this world? And it also, I think of habits as mechanisms for allowing that to happen. So you put your energy in the things you can control, you let go of the things you can't, and then you can influence your health in that way possible. Obviously, we're all a work in progress. I think that's true. And not every bit of advice is going to apply to your situation or your personality. One of the key takeaways is that instead of trying to change all your habits at once, it's actually more important to start out with very, very easy, tiny steps that you will succeed at. And that success begets success, begets success. And then it starts to expand out to other habits that are healthy. It goes from, I'm a person who exercises to I'm a person who takes care of myself, right? So you just like work on that first tiny little habit, and then slowly you can transform with time. And then that really changes the type of person that you want to be in this world. So I really, this is key stuff that applies to multiple realms of your health. Okay. I recognize that people with a cancer diagnosis have goals, and obviously you want to maximize your chance of recovery, whether that's longevity or cure. And the healthy habits, mind body connection, can actually help that from a physical perspective. We need to take care of our bodies and our minds in order to feel better emotionally, come back home to our sense of groundedness and inner peace, right? It's there for us, right? We can do this. And so we can feel better emotionally. Not that we're going to feel better all the time, but you can actually have an influence. So that's another goal that most people want. They want to feel back to themselves again. Think more clearly. Oops, I'm not sure where we're going there. Want to be able to function better, right? So I want this brain of mine to function better. I want my body to be able to do more so that I can do the things that I love to do, right? So this is also part of why we take care of ourselves, so that we can connect more deeply with our loved ones. So I think is probably primary, connect more deeply with ourselves, connect more deeply with life. That's another goal, right? So it becomes a bigger goal than just the cancer diagnosis. We can always grow psychologically and spiritually. It's another goal that you could see as part of the meaning of your life. Okay, so our habits contribute to those goals, and especially in the long term, when we can kind of change ourselves into the better version of ourselves. I also want to put the context of what I call complete cancer care, or integrative oncology. How do you do that? Quite literally, the empowerment piece is what you're getting right now. It's like information about the medical system, information beyond the medical system, right? Empower yourself, figure this out, listen to your gut. And then you get the best care from the medical system, which is another 45-minute talk as to how to advocate and the attitude that you're number one in the system. They're there to serve you. And then the empowerment piece, I superficially break this down into body, mind, and spirit. But there are those things you can do that nourish this body to make it stronger, happier. And then obviously there's the healing at the level of the mind, the psyche, and then nurturing a spiritual perspective that's something bigger than, just the kind of individual body-mind unit. So that's what I believe in. And you put your energy into things you can control. This will facilitate healing at all levels. Number one, this is a habit that I think is very, very, very important. It's like remembering what's most important to you, drawing your greatest values into your life, recognizing that we all have this limited energy, this limited perspective, this limited opportunity. So how are you going to express your spirit? How are you going to, really, be your best self, right? Well, I'm the type of person who takes care of themselves. I'm the type of person who cleans up the kitchen. I'm joking with the guys beforehand. So it's like setting your intention for this bigger perspective. So being conscious about what's most important, and then as a ritual. So for instance, I first thing in the morning will go downstairs. Typically my wife and I will do a meditation together. I'm going to explain more about that later. We use a heart rate variability monitor. I'm practicing the long, slow out breath. I'm actually resetting my stressometer, my stress level. It's a practice and it's a ritual. And at the end of that, which is where the kind of the habit comes in as well, I put my hands up towards the sky, and it's like being receptive to something that's bigger than myself, being grateful, but also wanting to be guided, for the best for everybody involved. So for me, it's like letting this love in my heart out to everybody, everywhere, being as beneficial as I can to every person that I connect with every day. So that's you could call that a prayer if you want to, but that's my ritual, setting my intention. How can I manifest my spirit in a way that's best for me? So I'm really wishing, praying hard in that moment. So that's a habit that I do every morning without question. And then just in terms of setting intention, it's important to keep on coming back home to those highest principles, right? So you're going into your medical appointment. You want to remember, what is it most important here? Going into a difficult conversation, whatever it is, your presentation, you're connecting with colleagues, going into a get together with your family members. It's like, how do I want to be? Like, what's this all about? So it's like remembering. And then the most difficult one is actually in the middle of the chaos, right? So we are going to get pulled away. We are going to get distracted, stressed, flustered, even angered. And then trying to recognize that, trying to use your mindfulness, watching what is actually happening here and now. Wow, did I just think that? Oh, am I feeling this? Am I at what's going on? And if you can recognize it, recognition is the first bit, then you come back home. Okay, that's what's happening, but I want to remember my relationships are most important. It's better for me not to react here, or whatever it is in the circumstance. It's better for me to come back home to my highest self, right? So again, setting your intention is a habit. It's a practice. You notice the agitation, you practice coming back home again. The muscle of coming back home is a practice and a habit. Okay, we're going to actually practice that habit right now. And I do it through about 2 minutes of a coherence exercise, coherence technique from HeartMath. And again, there's a wonderful organization that's published like 400 plus papers showing that their kind of meditation biofeedback system actually really makes a difference in terms of different, mental health, physical health issues, and so on. So I'm going to take you through this, but the imagination is that you're breathing in and out through your heart. So you imagine, either the air can be coming through your airways into your heart and kind of reversing through your heart, or you can go kind of directly front to back through your chest. And then at one point, I'm going to get you to generate a feeling of love, connection, gratitude, right? So it's a visualization, it's a breathing technique. And you're going to do this in step with me. And then lastly, we're going to do a setting of the intention together. So again, participate in a way that feels good. I always like to, first of all, get yourself into a strong position on your chair. So dignified, upright, noble, strong. You're taking your seat, bringing your attention to your feet, grounding your body in your consciousness, right? So you bring your attention into your body, it grounds your body. Bring your attention to your hands on your knees, the feeling of the backbone, a feeling of strength. Bringing your attention to the front of your chest, feeling of warmth, opened heartedness, a warm heartedness. Now we're going to focus on the breath. So you're going to breathe slightly deeper than you usually do, but focus on a longer, slower, smoother out breath. It's really important you really slow that down. Breathing in through your nose, maybe count to 3 or 4, and then breathing out through your mouth for a count of maybe 6 or 8. At whatever pace feels good for you, really bringing your attention to the breath. Nice, slow, smooth out breath. Now, as you're doing that, imagine breathing into your heart, in breath, and out of your heart on out breath. bring your consciousness to the level of the middle of your chest as you're breathing in and out through your heart. Now, as you're doing that, generate a feeling of love or compassion at the level of the heart. Just sense of joy, sense of peace, sense of gratitude. And let yourself really appreciate that feeling. And then from that perspective, set the intention for yourself. How is it that you want to be in this world? What is it that you need to learn today? How do you want to walk away from this presentation? Set that highest aspiration. And let it be so. Ding. I have my little chimes. Okay. Maybe like a little chair stretch. We'll get into real stretch in a second, but just maybe look up and away from the computer. I might have a little sip of water here. I get so excited about this stuff. I got to settle down. The presenter's got to practice some more relaxation here. Okay, so the takeaway, one of the key points around habits, and I'm going to keep harping on it because people don't recognize the danger of sitting too long. So called sedentarism. Beyond about 2 or 3 hours of sitting in a row, you're starting to have a negative effect on your body, especially in the kind of 4 to 6 hour range. You know, those who are working in an office environment, so incredibly important to stand up every 5 minutes or 5 minutes per hour. So once per hour standing for 5 minutes. The problem with sitting too much is it changes the chemistry within the body. The sugars start to go up, the fats go up. You can put on more abdominal fat, et cetera, puts you at risk of cancer. Therefore, you don't want to have any type of influence that puts you at increased risk of cancer. So every hour up for 5 minutes. And so here's, one of these ideas is to make sure you've got the cues and the rituals and routines that actually get you there. So we might think about this particular activity as you're going through this talk. How do I do it? How do we do it? So some people have a little alarm on their Fitbit or their Apple Watch and so on. So it gets them up, gets them to stand. I have a ritual of whenever I'm on the phone, I stand up, right? Because really there's nothing else I need to do. I'm like not looking at a computer or whatever. So, but that's what I'm doing every time I'm chatting with somebody. I'm trying to stand up. And that, every opportunity walking up the stairs, stand up desk is a really important one as well. You're not going to be able to do it like nonstop to start out with. What you do is you just do that for 5 minutes per hour. Standing up, that's all you need to do. And then slowly, as the weeks and months go by, you can 10 minutes per hour or 15 minutes per hour. It is helpful. It is very, very helpful. On that note, we're going to actually do the real stretch then. So just stand up. If you're watching this even after the fact, just stretch and look up towards the sky. It's kind of sense of gratitude. It's good to be alive. Stretch yourself. Get you to do all sorts of shakes and twists and all the rest. But 5 minutes per hour, you want to kind of stretch and really take care of yourself. Okay, here's the meat of the talk. Habits they're automated sequences of behaviors. So think of sometimes you have like a complicated coffee maker and you couldn't even describe to a friend how what buttons you take and put the capsule here and press this one there and et cetera, et cetera. But when you're in front of it, suddenly your hands are doing all these complicated behaviors all in a row. And even you're probably thinking about something else. Has become so automated that you can do this particular behavior. So that is a habit, for instance. I like the other analogy of, when you first learned to drive a car, it was probably pretty stressful taking that first corner, extreme amount of attention. Now, when you see the cue, I need to turn the car, and you're doing all these complicated actions, and yet you're not even thinking about it. It's happening automatically there. The components are trigger. I'm standing in front of my coffee maker. Behavior. I'm doing this kind of wild and wacky routine, and yet it's spitting coffee back at me, and the reward is then sipping the cup of coffee. From an evolutionary perspective, you could see, for instance, you're roaming the savannah, you see the fruit, you see the food, you eat the food, and then your body gets that kind of sugar and it feels good. And you remember, okay, that's what that food looks like. Remember this. The issue then is the brain starts to, what's the right word? Generalize to other situations. So I'm feeling stressed. How can I make myself feel better? Well, I could eat the food, have my ice cream, or I could browse the internet to distract myself, and I feel better, right? So it's using potentially negative habits then to try to satisfy some type of reward-seeking behavior. I just want to feel better, right? Okay, so obviously there's a whole evolutionary history around that reward-seeking systems. This actually statement is true and not true. So the deeper habits, like the very, very complicated ones of making your coffee or driving around the corner. Yeah. So as you get better and better and better at that, the neurocircuitry gets modulated to kind of get the fibers get kind of covered, so they're faster and more efficient. But think of it this way: your teenage son or daughter who gets a cell phone, and they're going to go outside to talk with their friends, they're automatically going to grab their cell phone. That's an automatic habit because there's so much positive reward with it. So it doesn't take months. It actually could just take like one day or even half a day to make that happen. So the reason why we do this is that we want to be more efficient. You don't want to be driving, turning corners with the same intensity and worry as you were when you were a 17-year-old. You want to conserve your energy so that you can think and have a conversation with your friends, while you're driving the car type thing. And the issue is we can tap into that reward-seeking system, the habit pathways for good habits, and we can also try to figure out how to extinguish the bad habits using the same science. This is my slide, so it's not really the science around this, but I think about habits as being like really completely automated, unconscious, like you're doing something else while you're doing it. And it's true. Routines are, my routine is to walk downstairs and do meditation. There's a little bit of a choice around that as to how long and what I'm going to do. And so it's some conscious effort. What we want is to be able to tap into habits. So your habit of getting out of bed when the alarm turns off is an opportunity, right? So the habit, or walking out the front door, is a habit to go to work, or those type of things, those routines then can prime you to do positive rituals and routines. So there's this opportunity. So routines become habits. So this is good, as you can actually have a habit of reframing a judgment. And for instance, a judgment about yourself. Oh, I'm such an idiot. I can't believe I did that. If you can recognize that, oh, geez, I just made that kind of very harsh judgment of myself, I can say, well, I'm just doing the best that I can. Or if you see somebody else who's, acting poorly, and maybe it's not a scenario where you actually have to say something to the person, you're kind of at a distance, or it's not your place, et cetera, you can have an automatic habit to say, he or she is just doing the best that they can, right? We're all trying to get through life as best that we can. So there's this kind of sense of compassion towards others that you can automize into a habit. The habit is to be kind to yourself, could be the habit. So from judgment to acceptance. So there's a huge opportunity then to use the same, and then you actually feel better, right? When you stop beating yourself up so much, you will actually feel better. So there is a benefit there as well. Okay, the other one I want to kind of normalize this too is, and we went through this the last time around the sleep routines. But again, this idea that you're training yourself, you're training your brain to go into that kind of more relaxed state as you're, setting your head on the pillow each evening, or going for a nap in the early afternoon, right? Again, it's conditioning. We're these animals. We are animals. We have this brain, we have this body. How do we hack it in a way that really functions for us? Well, one of them's obviously then around sleep. Can you actually train yourself to feel tired and actually fall asleep earlier through these healthy habits? Yeah. So I think about my sleep routine. Again, I'm conditioning my body through all these other habits of walking around the house, locking the doors, turning off the lights, walking upstairs, putting a cover on my wife, closing the windows, just like putting on my eye patches. It's like a routine that gets conditioned, like the Pavlovian dog, into feeling sleepy at that particular point in time. And I do that sometimes, or I don't do it actually, but some people can use what they call lights out alarm, which is putting your alarm on like 15 minutes before you're going to actually go to sleep. So at 9:45, my alarm would go off, and then I would start this routine that takes about 15 minutes, so that at 10 o'clock, I'm actually turning out the lights. You can have that, I gave you the idea of writing down your worries and plans in a journal, closing the journal, setting it aside and saying to yourself, look, those same worries and issues and plans are going to be there tomorrow. I don't need to worry about them tonight. They're in my book over there. My book is closed. Now's the time for sleep. And then the habit is getting up at the same time, even on the weekends. That's the whole other sleep science around that side. Okay, so I'm tapping into a couple of experts here. So James Clear wrote really very, very powerful book around atomic habits. And he's drawing on the science around it. Atomic for a whole number of reasons, because they're like the building blocks or the atoms that make up the bigger being, and that contributes to the functioning of the system, right? We have a life. Our habits contribute to how we actually function within the world. And that we're actually a product of our habits. You can even say, the habits that you develop and followed 6 months ago actually clearly, not clearly, but help really determine how you are as a person today. And if we can, make a small change in a habit, what happens is what they call compounding, is that the habit kind of gains some momentum. You expand that habit more. You're maybe exercising a little bit more, and then you see your person, a person as a self-exercise, a person who takes care of themselves, and that starts to, okay, I'm starting to eat better because I'm feeling better about myself. And so it's like developing the momentum of the positive habit in that situation, and it contributes from a psychological, from I'm a person who exercises to I'm an exerciser. I'm a person who tidies up the kitchen to I'm a tidy person. And it's actually funny because my wife, before we met, I think she was much cleaner than I was, and I was certainly much more tolerant of stuff around the house. But I think she's had a very good benefit on me, and so I'm being a bit more neurotic about kind of cleaning up the kitchen as we go scenario, and her standards are actually dropping down. I hope she's not. We're going to watch this video. But anyways, yeah. So we're having an influence on each other. But I was teasing her. I went from I'm the type of person who tidies up the kitchen to now I see myself as a tidy person. So it's a bit of a stretch, but anyways, I hope you're enjoying all this. So instead of working on the goals, I want to walk a 5K, walk, or I want to run a 5K run. Instead, you want to develop the systems whereby, each morning I'm going to go for a 1-minute walk, for instance. So that's my little habit. And then as I start to build on that, I start to see myself as a person who exercises, right? So you're really developing the habits and not defining yourself by the end goal or how much weight you want to lose or anything else, how much money you want to earn. So James Clear's quote, you do not rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. And oftentimes it's really an issue of like relying on motivation. That's difficult because our motivation can wax and wane. But what we can do is set up the systems so that we're much more likely to succeed. And that's part of the kind of science of what I'm trying to point you towards here. This is a fantastic book, Tiny Habits. I have such great respect for BJ Fogg. So he's a Stanford prof and just a wonderful character. So whether you watch a YouTube video or buy his book, he's the kind of the world leader in terms of actually how you make this happen, kind of the science of behavioral change. It's very, very impressive. And so one of the things that he like harping on these days, it's actually the emotional content that lays down the new habit much more than the repetition or time. It's how you feel around the new habit that actually has its profound influence. Anyways, I'll get to that as well, but he's the type of guy that's right on the edge of the science in terms of it. So fantastic. And he says, you make these changes in two big ways. You can have an epiphany, right? You can have like a near-death experience and come back and want to love other people. Or you can have like, I really want to be around for my grandkids. I love my grandkids so much. And so I'm going to take care of myself. So you can have that kind of profound insight change, but that's rare and you just can't rely on it. You could change your environment, which, you can go live in another city and have like a totally different setup. That would definitely change your behavior. But again, doesn't make sense. Or the third way that we're talking about is really taking baby steps. And again, this is the science of behavioral change. It's just much easier, much more effective just to do the tiniest step to start out with. So big picture is the cue. And if you see the cue, then you get to do a routine like pulling down the bar, which gives you a little drink of grape juice, and then you get that reward, right? So there's the kind of classic Pavlovian conditioning. Or another one is you see that the clock has hit noontime, and that's the cue for you to walk over to the cafeteria, and then you get to hang out with your friends and have a really good chat. Now, yes, that doesn't work very well during COVID, but post-COVID, pre-COVID, it's like, it's a very simple loop there. So to create good habits, we're going to tap into those same pathways. Extremely important point. Start with just one habit. Do not try to do it all. It's so much easier just to focus there. And yes, you might be the type of personality that can do multiple ones at a time. And you're probably doing a lot of good stuff for yourself anyways. But if you want to kind of go for that next goal, you choose just one and make it super small, super easy. So for instance, if you want to read more, the first step is you set a goal that's ridiculously easy. Like once per day, I'm just going to open my book, right? Or if you want to do an exercise routine, once, 3 times per week, I'm going to go outside for a 2-minute walk. It's that type of thing. I think I would do that as a daily thing myself, as a first set out. I'm going to start practicing meditation. I'm going to take one mindful breath. It sounds ridiculous. I happen to be doing one where I'm doing 2 chin-ups every time I go into the shed to get my bike. And 2 chin-ups for me is pretty darn easy. BJ Fogg does 2 push-ups every time he goes to the bathroom type thing. So you're creating the tiny ones. And then almost certainly you're going to do more than what you suggested you're going to do. And you're going to have that feeling of, extra success way beyond what you expected. And it sets the motivation as very low. So ridiculously easy, less than 2 minutes per day, or less than 2 minutes per activity. When I go to set up my coffee maker, I'm going to clean up one item from the living room, right? So it's just like I'm going to pick up one thing from the living room. Super, super easy. The other thing I think is important is actually visualize it beforehand. You're setting up how you want to do this. So I use the example of my vitamin D, which I'll use in a second, but I want to have you visualize going for the 2-minute walk outside. So it's like at 7 a.m. tomorrow morning, my runners I know are near the front door. I'm going to put on my runners. I'm going to have on my, my sweatpants and my t-shirt, whatever. And I'm going to open the door. I'm going to walk outside. I'm going to walk up the street and walk back again. That's how I'm going to do it. So it's like visualizing exactly what's going to happen, time of day, et cetera, et cetera. And you know where your stuff is. You've laid out your jogging pants, your t-shirt, et cetera, et cetera. You're likely going to go more than 2 minutes once you do all that. For me, vitamin D is super important, right? And I used this behavioral technique to kind of do this. So this is the bathroom that we have upstairs, and you can see that I'm a vegetarian, and so I have to take B12 as well. So it's vitamin D and B12 for myself, but you guys can do this for vitamin D. And you can see my toothbrush there. And so the cue is I'm about to brush my teeth in the morning. So you can imagine my hand reaching out for the toothbrush, and then I see that I have the vitamin D there. And so I take off the bottle, I take a couple of tablets out, one for me, one for my wife, be same with B12, et cetera, et cetera. So it's very specific, very, in the moment. And I'll tell you as well, just to finish this off, is I go, woohoo, vitamin D. I do like a little reward for this, and then I take my vitamin D. And I don't think we've missed since January 1st, since I've been doing this, or I guess a couple of days in vacation, or maybe I forgot one other time, but it's been very effective in terms of, doing this particular technique. So I'm going to break this down, but I want to give you an example that you can make it super simple, like making sure you take your vitamin D each day. Okay. Here's this curve that BJ corrected. Essentially, you see this kind of blue line in the middle. If the behavior falls above the blue line, you're going to very likely to do the action. If it flows below that line, you're very unlikely to do that action. And so what BJ said is what you want to do is make it extremely easy in this little quadrant in the bottom right-hand corner above the blue line. So it doesn't take a whole bunch of motivation, and it's very easy to do. So that was his key to making the behavioral change. And this format is to then stack it on another habit. So after I reach out for my toothbrush, I will grab and eat my vitamin B and B12, right? So it's a very, very tiny habit. You're stacking on an existing habit and then a very tiny, easy new behavior. And here are some examples. He says, after I step on the scale, I will thank God for the new day, right? So you can use it from a kind of spiritual perspective as well, a sense of gratitude perspective. After I start my morning coffee, I will tidy one item in the living room. So I gave you that one already. Again, so it's a cue. You're going to do your morning coffee, right? So then it allows you to add on something extra. After I wash my face in the morning, I will put on my sunscreen, right? After I start the dishwasher, right? So you're almost always doing the dishwasher. I will take my vitamin. After I walk out the door, I will say, today will be a great day, right? Or today I'll make the best of this day, or however you want to say that. Again, because you are going to walk out the door. It's a habit, and you get used to saying the next tiny habit. He also uses, I think a really fantastic one is because we're going to get up, we're going to get out of bed in this morning. And as the feet hit the floor, that's an opportunity then to say kind of like an affirmation someday. And he says, I'm going to have a great day. So it's like he's pumping himself up. He's believing that, he's having fun with that. And then he also laughs, if he's going to have a tough day, he says somehow he kind of laughs to himself. And almost always it's a little bit easier than what he expected in terms of the tough day coming ahead. So somehow, or I'm going to make the best of the day. However it is that you can kind of set a kind of emotional, spiritual energy with this first stepping into your day. So the key then, as I said before, is it's actually the emotional state that you associate with the new behavior that really influences whether that habit is going to get ingrained or not. And it's more important than the number of repetitions or the number of times. So don't believe this, in 21 days or in 66 days. That's the science is actually more association than causation. It's more to do with the emotional state that you're there. So to do that, right at the start of the activity, as I put my vitamin D in my mouth, or after I finish swallowing, or maybe the easier one is at the start of my little 2-minute power walk, or just at the end of my 2-minute power walk, I want to give my my limbic system, my dopamine system, an extra little shot. So I get this positive association. So we all have different ways to celebrate, the reward. So I want you to remember, or want you to visualize, imagine that you're applying for a new job, and the new job is like really great fit. It's a great company that you're going to be working with. They're paying you more than what you had. It just so fulfills your next step in the career, in your career and so on. And you really want that job, and you really think they're going to give it to you. And like, you're waiting for that email. And then the email comes in and it says, congratulations, you've got the job. We really want you to come join our company. How would you celebrate in that exact moment? It's like, yeah, that's great. I love this. I'm so happy. So it's that type of feeling that you would kind of generate in that moment. So it seems silly, but there's different ways to do that. You say, like, I'm awesome. Like, which is ridiculous, right? So I'm taking my vitamin D, and then I'm like, I'm awesome. Well, good for you, Bob. You're like, you're able to take vitamin D. But I laugh at myself. So I'm even laughing at myself now. But the fact is that I actually now have a positive association with my vitamin D. It's like, I feel like, oh, this is kind of fun. I really like vitamin D. So, or bingo, or like, do like a little woohoo, little dance on the spot type thing. So it's the same. It's the same idea. Is however it is for you that allows you to celebrate, and just kind of get out of your way and laugh at yourself, because part of the laughing at yourself is giving you that same kind of dopamine rush that you're associating with the positive activity that you want to do. Okay, so this is actually a really interesting one as well, is that you can actually practice the celebration. So imagine that every time you heat up your water in the microwave, like maybe you're using your microwave to heat up your water, and you've got that kind of 1 minute or whatever it takes, and that you want to like practice, a relaxation technique. So what you do is you actually practice the celebration going through that. So you go into your kitchen, you put some water in the microwave, you turn on the microwave, and then you like, do the 10 deep breaths or whatever is ridiculously easy in terms of your meditation. And at the end of that, you go, woohoo, I'm great, I'm awesome, type thing. So you get that kind of positive association, but do that 10 times in a row. Fake that you're making your boiling water 10 times in a row in that first morning, and maybe for multiple mornings where you're doing it lots and lots of times, so that you're building up this kind of dopamine rush from doing a little meditation every time you turn on your microwave. So you practice the celebration in whatever way feels good. Okay, I know you can't hear me, or I can't hear you. So I want you to just kind of stand up and go like, yes, or bingo, or I'm awesome, or like, woohoo, safety dance. So just like have a little moment of celebration. So practice your celebration. And then the next time you have a chance, to create a tiny habit, you can do the celebration dance too. Okay, so making the habit stick. Interesting. So this is bracketing, thinking about this. Science also shows, and I wouldn't restrict myself from the science, I'm just adding a little bit of science here, is that your brain is more able to kind of make those associations when it's kind of more receptive. So interestingly, if you exercise during the first 8 hours a day, and then you do your celebration dance or whatever else, you're more likely to make the positive association there. Or if you have a coffee and you kind of feel good, and then you practice your new habit again, you're more likely kind of ingrain that particular habit. And overall, if you are exercising, it's almost as if the brain-derived growth factor that goes along with exercise is helping set down the new pathways for whatever other habit you're doing. So I guess the takeaway is exercise can be a foundational habit that can help build other habits. Okay, so at the end of that habit, again, you're going to create the dopamine rush, which creates the craving. So again, I'm just saying the same thing. Then that becomes associated with the cue. So your alarm goes off in the morning. You get that trigger like, oh, I'd really like that cup of coffee, which lets you go and, use your coffee maker, satisfies the reward. And then it feeds back into the alarm going off in the morning, right? So it's like positive habit loop is what we're trying to generate here. I also recognize, so you're looking at a picture here of a young lady using a heart rate variability monitor. So she's kind of getting some biofeedback as she's using a meditation technique. And I think this is very important habit, not that you want to choose this one as the first one, but to practice some type of relaxation technique to decrease the stress level within your nervous system. So I'm starting to recognize that at the end of my meditation, at the end of the kind of 10 minutes or 15 minutes, I'm in a much more relaxed state, much more clear thinking. My heart is more open. I give my wife a hug at that point in time. Anyways, the point is that it's like, it feels good to be in that peaceful state. And I recognize as I'm walking down the stairs, I can feel the craving then for that. Oh, yeah, if I go and meditate, I'm actually going to feel more peaceful and more centered and more calm. It's like, oh, and so I'm recognizing that I'm actually setting up this loop through just even a relaxation technique. Okay, so then I guess I gave you this idea that as you're, seeing the coffee maker in the morning and that you have this kind of particular time, you can add in the meditation technique. Right. So instead of looking at your phone, you're conscious about that and say, well, instead, why don't I just do like a few slow breaths of meditation? The emails can wait till later, quite frankly. Right. And it's more important that I center myself and come into that more peaceful state. The other one I thought was just a brilliant idea was BJ Fogg was saying, how you warm up the water for your shower? You're turning on the hot water tap and a little bit of the cold water tap. And then you have to wait for whatever, another 20 seconds, a minute, whatever, for the heat to get to the right temperature. During that time, he has some type of gratitude towards some part of his body. So again, it's the cue of turning on the water. You got this time and you go like, oh, I'm just like so grateful for my heart that continues to pump the blood around my body 24/7 and, nurture me in all these ways. So just that kind of sense of looking at one's body with a sense of gratitude. So again, habits can be used in powerful ways to kind of create deeper psychological and spiritual perspectives, right? Sack on a short meditation. I do want to talk shortly about, working with untangling. I guess that's the best word, bad habits, because you can't break them. They're there and you can slowly entangle them. So the author here is Judd Brewer, fantastic psychiatrist, really anxiety specialist. Again, just this wonderful spirit. Listen to that guy talking, you're like, oh, that just like so inspires me. So the issue around breaking or untangling bad habits is that we can't rely on willpower, self-control, because our willpower kind of comes and goes throughout the day. So when I'm tired, when I'm hungry, my willpower really kind of shuts down. And so I can't rely on myself to, make the best decision for myself. And Judd's work is actually around mindfulness, paying attention to the sensations and thoughts that are happening in the moment, especially around, the issue of bad habits. And so it's like a non-judgmental perspective, just taking in the truth of what's happening there. And then, for instance, if you're like having, an internet addiction or an eating addiction or a smoking addiction, it's like the first thing is just to watch the pattern very, very carefully. What are the circumstances? How does it feel? Sensations, thoughts, emotions coming up at each step of the phase. And then you question, like, what am I actually getting out of it? Do I actually feel better when I binge, whether it's in any of those things like food, smoking, whatever else? I actually don't feel very good, like the half an hour after, eating too much ice cream, for instance. And then you start to break it down and watch yourself very, very carefully at each step. And the next step is to actually be curious, because the mind actually likes curiosity. It's like a really energized, positive feeling. Oh, that's what's going on. Oh, So you're starting to crave. Okay, I see that. And then it starts to understand the cravings without kind of giving into them is the kind of next step around this. So smoking actually tastes crappy, right? So you start to be curious about each step, and then you like the curiosity more than you like the bad habit. So the cue, I'm bored, I drink alcohol. Oh, I feel, more happy or whatever. Same situation, I'm bored. Oh, do you know what? I could connect with somebody. I'm going to call a friend. And that you have that kind of sense. It feels good to connect, to listen, and to remember, and to be myself with that person. That gives you the reward. So you, in a sense, you're seeing where you can move in a new activity. So being aware of the cues, for me, it's like I'm more likely to kind of binge eat about 8:30 at night because I'm tired and usually hungry or whatever, and I've had some supper, but now I want some sugar. So it's time. Maybe I'm emotional state. I'm upset. I'm tired. I'm frustrated. Whatever circumstance. What's the action? So you're just being very clear about what's happening, and then whether you're building good habits or breaking good, entangling habits, you want to, from the good side, make it obvious, attractive, easy, satisfying. From the bad side, you're trying to make it invisible. For instance, I also tease with my wife that if she brings home cookies, I'll put them up in a cupboard that's, so she can't see them and it's inconvenient to get to them, right? So the cookies are available within the house, but because they're not obvious out on the counter, we're not likely just have the limbic system override and just kind of quickly snack on them, right? So it's invisible. I think about how it feels, harder, unsatisfying. Exercise example, make it obvious. So the cue might be that you set out your sweatpants, shoes, and shirt on the floor beside the bed, so that when you get up in the morning, that's the first thing that you see, right? Make it attractive. You visualize how you're going to feel, right? Oh, it feels good to be outside. It feels good to exercise and to be breathing harder, right? And I'm going to have that coffee after. So that visualization, you want to make it super easy, right? So I'm asking you to start out with your 2-minute power walk. Yes, you're going to do more, but it's like, oh, I can do 2 minutes. That's easy. I can just get out the door. Ooh, zip, zip. Yeah. And then, oh, okay, well, actually this feels good. Maybe I just go for 20 minutes instead, right? And then you can make it more enjoyable. Like, listen, bring some music along, or bring somebody with you, or, your little check mark on your calendar. There's lots of different ways to kind of tap into that. The junk food example, as I said, don't bring it home, is probably the easier one. I find that about 10 o'clock at night, if there's no junk food in the house, it's very hard to eat junk food, right? As in, I don't want to drive all the way to the store and get something and bring it back home again. Visualize how it makes you feel, make it more difficult, more steps, and remember that you don't actually feel better, 3 hours later. So the dietary hacks: don't shop when you're hungry, eat your veggies first. Like, you're seeing the plate there. It's one of the ideas is, if you have a restaurant plate of food, you eat your veggies first. You fill up on your veggies, it stretches your stomach and you feel better that way. And then you kind of, maybe I'm too full now to eat the unhealthy stuff. You can also use habits to increase that kind of sense of connection and social bonds. I think this is super important as well within your relationships, right? There's different ways to create the habits that help. So when we come in the door, either of us, first thing we do, we come in the door, hi, honey, I'm home. And no matter where each is, we're going to go and find that person and give them a hug, right? So it's going to happen. The hug is going to happen within 10 seconds of coming home. And it's a beautiful kind of symbol and investment in the relationship. I also think, the habit for us is that we will snuggle, cuddle, however you want to say that, just as we're going to sleep and first thing in the morning. So it's a non-negotiable in some senses that we're going to be in that kind of wonderful cuddle position. And if you live alone, you can also kind of cuddle yourself, right? So it's not like you have to have a partner to succeed at that one. You can have, I chat with my son once a week. So and he's, just finishing university now. We swap in worse habits for the positive social connection, right? So looking for those opportunities. So instead of, kind of browsing, or however they say it, like swiping through their kind of social media feeds, like doing that kind of quick stuff, you actually, connect with the friend. You send a message directly to a friend on social media is the nicer way to go at that, and the smarter way to go at it, better habit. Every action you take is a vote for the type of person you wish to become. Right? So you practice, and then you see yourself differently, and success begets success. Changing your identity. Every time you're doing that positive habit, you're like voting for yourself to say that that's the type of person I want to be. And it changes the perception of yourself. And then that leads to, happier state of mind, better behaviors, etc. It's lovely. Okay. Habit of self-compassion. When we screw up, everybody does the best that they can. Nobody tries to screw up, right? So if I'm doing something and I failed at it miserably, I can still be compassionate for myself. Yes, I learned from the experience. I apologize if I need all that other stuff, but I don't have to beat myself up. I can just say, I did my best, and everyone is just doing their best. No one tries to do worse than that. So it's this kind of sense of kindness that we use from a psychological level to, help ourselves grow and get stronger and happier. Because your happier self is your healthier self as well, right? So the psychological work here does have an influence on the body as well. Quick plug for our book, The Healing Circle. You can find that on healingandcancer.org, where you can also see lots of other talks and so on. Just a huge, huge, huge thanks to Canadian Cancer Survivors Network. We have the contact information here. They're a wonderful organization, and I thank everyone for listening in. Hope you have a great day.
Awesome. Thank you so much to Dr. Rob Rutledge for another very insightful presentation with some fantastic tips and information for us, and all the work that you're doing for the cancer across the country and everywhere on the internet. And thank you so much to all of our attendees here, for everyone watching online as well. Before we close off the video, hang on everyone on the call. We'll be doing a short Q&A, but before that, I just want to close off and let you know that this is one in a series of webinars that we have planned for 2022. Registration information for next week's will be out soon, so watch your inboxes and social media for that. A quick note about email, that if you're not seeing our emails in your inbox, please check your spam or junk mail folder. We use a third-party email service, so check your spam folders, mark emails from CCSN as safe, or add us to your contact list to ensure that they'll come straight to your inbox and you won't miss another notification. As always, all of our previous webinars are accessible on demand through our website. You can go to survivornet.ca/webinars for that. So thank you to everyone who is joining us online, and we're going to go to our Q&A session now.